It's FACEIT TV. I'm Dan. This is
James.
a significantly less well-dressed James. Hello, James. How are you, James?
Shut up.
You're significantly less well-dressed.
Don't make
How
me
does
go.
it feel?
Don't make me hit my wardrobe, Dan.
Don't hit the
I'll
wall.
finish you.
You'll finish me like Mortal Kombat style.
Yeah.
Like a finishing move.
Absolutely.
What do you got?
I'll
you have
throw
some
you off the pit.
Tapered stuff. Had it at CES.
Yeah, I've got some Swag Lord suits for the Vegas event. I have another one I haven't used yet.
I can sabotage you. I will just burn that stuff. I'll find a way.
I suppose that would be sabotage.
He lives fairly close to me. Actually, I've never seen like where your house is exactly, but you came to mine today.
It's for the best.
Yeah, but otherwise I could sabotage everything. But this is the FPL show, friends. That is the FACEIT Pro League. And if you don't know what the FACEIT Pro League is, well, I can't be bothered to explain it, James. So you're out of luck. So I'm just joking, of course. So the FACEIT Pro League is, of course, where some of the best players in Europe, in their respective regions, we have also the North American FACEIT Pro League. They go to play pickup style, and of course,
4 times.
4 times. What are you talking about, James?
Dazed.
Explain yourself.
But getting Glocky code or something.
Right, exactly. I mean, this is how it's impossible to miss this stuff at the moment because a lot of players are streaming the FPL, and a lot of the highlights are making it onto the front page of Reddit. So a lot of fun to be had, and we are going to be delving into some FPL action, finding a match, and checking it out from our perspective. Because usually you get the players' perspectives on their streams, but we're gonna talk whilst that happens. Do you have any thoughts about the FPL, James? How things have been going and so on? Because it's been going for a while now, actually.
Yeah, it has. I mean, all the content that comes out from it is great. So yeah, it's really good for the players as well, which is the most important thing. I think I've given up on trying to qualify for it at the moment, but you know, I really want to try and qualify. I want to try and qualify. Whether I do or don't, that's fine. But I want to give it a go. But what I've been doing really is playing solo queue. So when I solo queue, yeah, it's not as good as when you have a team, because when you get up to like FACEIT rank 8 and above, it's really hard. It's really hard. It's a lot harder than matchmaking by far. And now with the FPL, so I think it's even worse, like even more difficult to win those higher tier matches. So you really need to get your CS on.
And you know what, James? This is the first FACEIT show of the year.
It is.
So we have something special.
I finally got my watch back. That's special.
We have tea, James.
Oh, we do.
We have tea.
We have tea.
Cheers. You're not supposed to do this at tea, are you? Really? This is. I assure you, this is tea. Although the coloration of the liquid is questionable at best. I assure you, it's not urine.
I mean, it looks like tea to me.
But there's no way for you to confirm that. So you just have to take our word that it is not in fact urine.
That's great, Dan. I'm not going to drink this.
It's good though. What is this, James?
It's Dragonwell green tea. Dragonwell Lung Ching from my teapot. I have my teapot here.
It's almost empty. That means
we're drinking tea, Dan. That's what it means.
I guess
He's being drunk. Do you want a refill, Dan? Do you want a refill? There's a bit left.
Okay, thank you. This is good. It's nice.
It is nice. Yeah.
We know some good tea places.
We do.
We are
the kings of tea.
But we can go into that later, of course. So we are going to be looking at the standings to see where people actually are in said FPL, as it is a new year, a new season, new standings. Look at this, James. Look at all those green things with numbers on them. It's great.
Disco Doplan.
Who is this man? Who is this man?
So everyone is. This is great. JW is 310 points and 310 plus. Doplan is 264 points, Dan, and 264 plus. I guess it's the beginning of a new month, so it's going to be like that, and it's going to change next week. And you can see the kind of the ups and downs. So people I don't recognize: Relaxer 016, Lecro, Luzu, and Disco Doplan.
Who are these people?
According to producer Reese, Disco Doplan is like a Swedish youngster.
Yes.
Who qualified in January.
Year is that?
Oh, Bendy. I thought that was Benji.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Is that not Benji then, or is that a typo?
Benji as well.
I'm guessing it's a typo. Oh, it is Benji.
Yes,
yeah.
Indeed Benji.
Okay, Benji's gone Bendy. Make of that what you will.
So interestingly, of course, when you see all the new names, one of the reasons is partly due to the fact that this is actually the really cool part about this. So a lot of the players on the top teams, of course, are going to be practicing a lot with their teams. They're going to be competing at LANs and stuff, but they will be playing FPL as well. But the great thing is that this provides actually more infrastructure for the lesser known players to not only get noticed by playing in matches that are featured on the streams of some of the best players as well, but it's actually going to be showing or giving them the spot to actually make some money as well out of the FPL, as there are monetary rewards, which means that they might get picked up or noticed as well. As there's a lot of factors here that's going to encourage these guys to actually be playing hard, and that's really great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. I look forward to seeing some more of the streams. It's funny actually, Simple's just moved over to North America, and he's having some struggles because I think now he's joined a new team. He's had a mouse and mouse pad forced upon him, which is not what his normal gear is. So he's having a lot of frustrations there.
No, it's bad.
I think that's one thing actually which I think has to change. Like this is the year where people have to stop forcing sponsor peripherals onto their players, because it's like you pay Simple all this money to go to North America, and you're like, here, play with this, not what you're used to and what you're so good with.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just hamstring yourself and force you to play with this. That doesn't make any sense to me.
So when I went to play at ESWC 2008 Masters of Paris, it was 2008 Masters of Paris. There's a Quake tournament, and I rolled out my practice partner. He was a Swedish guy called Fuki. He was one of the best Swedish duelers at the time, and he was in SK. And at that time, he always used to make a joke, because back then of the structure of SK, they had it was always very. It wasn't personal at all. Like, he would always have some random manager talking to him, and he always made the joke, "Oh, manager #34, it told me this, or that or the other." And when we were queuing up to register ourselves into the event and get our passes, one random kind of SK manager he's never spoken to before comes up to him and it's like, "Here is your gear." He's like, "What the hell is this?" And he had these super weird headphones with no sound isolation or anything, in a really loud area. We were playing next to the CS guys, and the CS guys were really loud back then. And also just a new mouse and mouse pad. And he's just like, "I'm not using this." He's like, "I'm not going to do this." And funnily enough, actually, Rafa also, who played for SK, he used to I can't remember which mouse he used to use, or which ones SK were trying to force onto him. But what he did was he got like a sticker, because he just outright refused to use the mouse that they were going to give him. So he got a sticker of the logo of the sponsor and just put it on his mouse on top of the other logo. So that's how he solved that. Well, obviously that's not going to work these days, but yeah, this has been happening for a very long time.
Yeah,
is the point.
Yeah. I would refuse.
Yeah.
I would refuse. I mean, when your hand is on the mouse, what difference does it make anyway?
Yeah, it depends. I guess it depends on your pull in the team. Like, because Rafa at that point is in a very high level. So it depends.
Yeah. But I think that's something I'd like to see with team unions. They have this union stuff. I think that's something that would be cool for them to cover, because you're just gonna wreck yourself.
Yeah.
There are other players as well which you don't really hear about, because they're not really in a position to talk about it. All things considered, but Simple's not the only person suffering from such issues.
In Quake, this happened quite a lot, actually. There was quite a lot of players, which very high tier players actually, who had to switch. Cypher, Avec, amongst some of the names that were having to switch their gear quite a lot, and obviously that does suck, and it did hurt their gameplay. It took them quite some months to get used to the mouse, and then for them, maybe there's a psychological leftover where they're like, okay, well, on my old setup, I always felt good, but if they start missing some shots, it starts to creep in as maybe an excuse.
Second guessing themselves, maybe.
Yeah, so it's definitely not ideal. I think I'm not a fan of it, but then again, it's the nature of the beast, isn't it? Really. I
don't think it should be, because it compromises a player's integrity by forcing them to choose something that they're not familiar with. I mean, some people will get used to it over time, but then you have to consider the impact of that time and the implications of that in tournaments and so on. But even then, if you're looking at the long-term game, what if they don't get used to it?
I actually think you're right as well, because this year could be the time that changes, because a lot of the top CS teams these days are going to be making enough money from they will have other revenue streams, even merchandising and so on and so forth, as well as if they're a team that goes to the major, the money that they get from Valve essentially, and other tournaments that they go into and so on. So there's actually infrastructure there for teams to generate money, not just from their peripheral sponsors, because that's how it kind of used to be. Whereas you only get the money from those sponsors, and you're not really selling merchandise. You don't really have any income really, or much income other than these sponsors. So then the sponsors can absolutely demand whatever they want, because without the sponsor you're screwed. But these days it's not like that. So
you're a bit of a StarCraft nerd as well, right?
I'm not too up to date on the recent scene, but
I mean, the point of my question is, obviously I think FPS players will be the most impacted by having mice and other peripherals forced upon them. Mainly mouse. Let's leave sound aside for now. But let's say a StarCraft player, or I don't know, something like I don't think like a League of Legends or a Dota player, it would really impact them. But a StarCraft player with all that kind of crazy micro, do you think if they had a mouse forced upon them, it would be an issue? Obviously, it's not going to be as much of an issue as pinpointing a very tiny dot on the screen like it is for an FPS player, especially an AWPer like Simple. But StarCraft player, do you have an opinion?
Well, I actually think that StarCraft players, or playing StarCraft, it requires a lot of a lot of very good mouse control actually, because you have to be very precise in a lot of your movements as well as very quick. It's a different type of mousing essentially, but there's a lot of precision there. I would agree that it doesn't affect them quite as much. I think it's easier for them to get through it, and mostly because of the margins of error. In a game like CS, there's almost if you miss the target, you miss the target. That's that. In a game like StarCraft or something, you're always going to get like maybe another chance. Maybe it'll slow you down a little bit, but it's not going to be as impactful. Whereas you can just lose a round, basically. You can lose matches because of inaccuracy, obviously. In that sense. So I would say it's pretty bad for CS players. But yeah, should we move on to our video? We've got a little bit of a feature on Neo. Of course, everyone knows who Neo is. Do you know who Neo is, James? Yes, you do.
I do. Yes, I do.
Who is Neo, James?
Neo plays Virtus.pro. He is Polish. He is one of the Golden Five from older versions of the game. He is now an AWPer for Virtus.pro, and he wears glasses down and often has a beard.
All right, well let's let's run our Neo highlights. There's quite a lot of people that would still argue that Neo is essentially the best player to have ever played the game that still plays, due to the fact of his results over the course of his career, as to how intelligently he plays, how clutch he still is, how good he is from every single aspect. I mean, this is a really, really smart player. He's the kind of player that you want to look at his demos to learn from how he does things and how he makes decisions. Whereas a player like JW, you look at his demo and you'll be like, wow, he does some crazy stuff. You probably can't really repeat that process. But Neo is a guy that has a lot of structure and a lot of smarts to his decision making. So he's the guy where you can go in and really study him and get a lot out of it, I'd say.
Yeah, I think because he's been in so many situations so many times, his game sense is kind of off the charts in that sense. So there's a lot to read and learn from, as you mentioned. So I know the casters were really recently talking, saying Neo's one of the ones to watch when you're like in a game. And what I've started doing recently actually is when there's a tournament on, if I'm friendly with the people running it, then I ask them for the Go TVs, which I get most of the time. So like the MLG minors in North America, I was watching that from Belarus in the hotel room on my laptop on the Go TV, which was really cool. But watch. It's always good, especially for the majors. As good as the streams are with all the cameras and so on, I think that if you're a player of the game and you want to improve yourself, then watching through Go TV is probably a richer experience.
Yeah, and there's also all kinds of other content that's out there, which we do some POV videos as well on the channel, which some of them we don't have any commentary on them or anything, but it's just a POV video of said player. So if this is one of your favorite players or someone you want to learn from, it's definitely a good source to learn from. So we have a game as well. We actually have an FPL game to look at, and Neo is going to be featured in this game. So we're going to be jumping into that now and checking out what's going on the server. We can check out, of course, all the players and so on as well. Yeah. So as you can see, we've got Whitten, who I'm sure I'll never be able to pronounce his name correctly ever. So I'm actually kind of glad that he's not on the team right now. That's relevant, James, because I would just struggle with his name repeatedly.
Just so we're clear, this is a game from yesterday that we are playing. So in case some of these people are streaming, it's not a live game. Well, that's a pretty straightforward entries into the B site there. It's a nice snap from Dolpan, a youngster. We don't know anything about him. I think, I feel like when people join the FPL, perhaps we should get some information from them, like a bio. I think it should be mandatory. Give us a bio.
Oh, yes.
How old are you? Where are you from? How long have you been playing the game for?
Okay, so this reminds me, right? In EverQuest, when I used to play EverQuest, right? So there was this very prestige.
Is that a big spaceship game where they've got loads of
EVE Online.
Okay.
No, EverQuest was one of the first very popular MMOs after Ultima, and it was like a 3D one, and it's very old school. And we had this clan where it was a British clan, and then there was like this other brother clan of this one, and if you were like super sick, you could join that clan. But to get to do it, not only do you have to have a character at the right level, but you had to actually go to their website, right, and apply, and you'd have to write a massive story about your character, like a massive bio about your character.
Oh really?
Yeah, and it's actually really sick. Like some people came up with some really good stuff. Just reminded me of that. But of course, that's a really good idea, because part of the reason of the FPL is actually to get to know players a little bit better. That obviously have a lot of skill to show, and it's great to see Flusher's here. Senor Vac, that is Mr. Flusher.
I've played with Flusher a few times. I sometimes, I think I've played with him 2 or 3 or 4 games actually. So I like to say that I taught him everything he knows when he's playing matches and doing well. because I'm that kind of troll. Yes, I am. Who else have we got in here?
Well, he is playing with Mac 10, so he did done something for me.
Yes. Maybe I have to change my Mac 10 to I'm Mac 10. People just like to enjoy that. So we've got Delpan, Palf. Let's see. Is Palf on Pronax's team?
I believe so, yeah.
They got wrecked by YP, right, for the major.
Yeah.
So YP are going to the offline qualifier at the end of February. Big things ahead, maybe. I had to do that.
A lot of big
so
things.
I did the big things
ahead
big things. For YP.
Yeah.
You are.
Tell me more, James. Tell me more about these big things.
I haven't seen any YP matches actually. The team. So, although I would have liked to have watched some of Pronax's. I wonder if they're like a proper team or if they're just playing together for qualifiers. Because if they're a proper team, I doubt that I wonder how developed they are. I can't imagine that they're much more than a mixed team at the moment. Which is good in the sense that there should be a lot of growth there if they do stick together. But again, I haven't seen a single game in space, so I have no idea what they're doing at the moment. That's something that I have been asked recently when I've been streaming myself is, oh, what do you think of like Pronax's team? And I'm like, I have to say I haven't seen him play a game, so I have no opinion. Because if people say, oh, you know, they like a lot of people will be like, you know, oh, I don't think we'll get this far with them, blah blah blah. People said the same thing about G2. In fairness, the G2 lineup did change considerably after that, but for me, I just want to see them play. I'm not gonna make it. I'll leave the like speculations and estimations to other people, but I just want to see them play.
Speaking of G2. And well, you know, now they would be FaCe, right? So.
Oh right, yeah.
Let's not speak about that. Let's ignore that completely. So we have who else do we have to hear that's interesting?
Are you talking about the Envy match?
Just
generally.
Just generally.
I still have a Fox sticker on my Dragon Lore.
I just don't want to get involved. Don't want to get involved in this. But yeah, it's we were talking about Neo previously actually, and considering the next round should be live for the CT side, we should actually look at Neo's POV for the next round and see what he does. Obviously, you know, in the situation in the FBL you do have communication. There's voice comms, of course. The players will use voice comms and they will coordinate. But to what extent, it does vary, of course, on players and you know what kind of game it is.
People actually get reported if they don't communicate.
There you go.
If they just run around solo. Like I know, for example, like when Anders plays matchmaking, he just puts voice enable 0. If you do that in FPL, you're gonna get wrecked.
Go to Neo.
You're gonna get sent off.
Yes. What is that profile, James?
It's a bit Game of Thrones and a bit MS Paint.
Maybe he should get thrown off for that one.
I haven't made an overlay for my stream yet, and I want to make one in MS Paint. I think it's gonna be glorious.
Actually, that was Threat used to do that all the time. That was his thing. Actually, he would try to make it as bad as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually quite funny because that is actually can be your brand basically. Like you can actually brand that, which is actually so smart because then you can just be super lazy and ridiculous, which is brilliant. It's a brilliant way to go about it. So let's stick to Neo here because we're moving around a lot. Neo's just, of course, it looks like they're setting up a split on A at the moment, but the problem is that they don't really have any presence in mid.
He's got no flashes either. When somebody puts a smoke down like that, if it's more useful if you have a smoke in the middle of mid, so you don't get cross-fired, but you can bounce a flash off the red container into your warehouse, and it basically pop flashes if they don't hear it. Everyone apart from Palf, basically. I think he's under the boost, so I won't flash him, but you know he's the first base.
And interestingly, in this round regarding Neo, he was actually just supporting Daiki. He was actually just providing support there and trying to help him out, make sure he doesn't get flanked so he can get a pick in mid. And he actually had two choices there when he couldn't get into mid easily. Either he stays there with his ult mate and tries to keep things, you know, safe in that region of the map, or punish anyone pushing, or he goes and joins the push. And he actually decided to stay with the AWPer there, which is obviously an interesting decision considering that the T's are on the site. So that's one of those spots where it's like you can do one or two things. Which one do you do? You know, again, like if you take a more detailed look at Neo's demo, you might get some more insights there.
You know, one thing I've found playing with my friends is that a lot of them are good aimers, right? But they're not good team players, or they don't even know how like they consider themselves high-level players of the game, but they don't have any team play whatsoever.
Or decision making.
Yeah, and a lot of that is like I don't have the best aim, so I mean it's not to the level that you saw at Play It Cool, despite everyone wanting to believe that. But you know, so I try and have strong strategical play and so on. And I often find that, let's say there are 2 players on the T side. It's actually happened on Cash. We had two players left, or 3 players left, right? And between them, they had 5 flashbangs, and they were just walking around trying to get aim duels. Like there was a smoke down on A main, and if you're at the entrance to A main on the T side and you crouch, you can just throw a pop flash into that smoke and then try and push for it. And you don't need, like, if you want to put the smoke down on short off the boost box, you can do that without seeing it. Everyone knows how to do it. You can put that down and get a pop flash in there. But there's never a use of the nades. The nades are always an afterthought where they've taken a site, and I find they're commonly never actually used to take the site. Or even take map control.
It's one of those things as well where if you're going to be playing with people, you really want to try to, I mean, in your situation, you really want to be playing with people that have team experience, like they've played in decent teams or teams that have at some point been serious, because then because then
it's a different mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, because then they're in a spot where they play in this team, they have a league matches, and they're losing games and so on. If they have any level of commitment there or competitive spirit, they're going to look for ways to try to improve and see what's going on. And I think it becomes very quickly apparent that you can't just get games won by individual skill alone in the majority of cases. You've got to use team play and grenades well. And then if you play with people who've had that experience, then that's going to carry a little bit better into your kind of pickup experience with them.
That's why I like playing with Hayes from LGB Female, because she's the support player for their team. So when she plays with my friends, we can both sit there and just rage privately together, because we want to do the team plays and stuff, and everyone else is just like, oh, let's just go for aim duels and just failing, basically. And the same with Matty as well. Like the people she plays with have more team play than the people I play with. So it's a
very stark difference.
It is, yeah. I just wish I don't know how to get people into that mindset. Something I've been struggling with.
I think that, like, for me, like, my approach would be to just I would just, if I wanted to get the proper experience, I would find people to play with that were consistent. And I always did this in the past. I would always have a group of 7 to 8 people at most, and we would mix together. But we would do it so much that kind of roles would then get established. We would play tournaments together, and so it's kind of a little bit more casual, but everyone's taking it really serious. It's just that the fact that everyone who's in that situation playing on those kind of mixed teams with you, they university don't have the time to really go fully into like a 5-man lineup or something. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. But that can be hard to set up, I think. But
I have a few people like that, but not enough yet. They're very hard to find.
Yeah.
So one by one, I'm kind of trying to collect like 6-7 people.
Yeah, it's really nice when you have that, actually. And I remember a long time ago as well, especially when I was playing Source from 2005 to 2007, that I had like a couple pockets of people that we kind of would play. Like I would play with some Brits sometimes, but then I had my Swedes that I would play with, and inevitably we'd end up playing way more with because they were better human beings, James. But
that's not a fan of, well, never mind.
But the thing that was cool is that there'd be spots where you can kind of bridge the two little mini communities once you have like enough knowledge of the scene, and I guess it can be difficult if you don't have a huge amount of time to put into it, like into the mix scene, to kind of get to know these people. But you'll always come across people that are very mature, very impossible to play with. That's always just going to happen. Always.
Every time, it's funny, Delpan's playing in this game actually. I sometimes play with him, but he only sends me invites when it's like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm so super wrecked and tired. I always play bad, and he's always raging afterwards. Like, send me an invite like 8 PM or something, man.
I mean, this is a phrase that you use, but I think James, you are a victim of being the last chicken in the shop.
Yeah.
4 AM, it sounds like you get the graveyard shift with Delpan.
Yeah, I'm the 4 AM last chicken in the shop. You got no choice. He'll have to do. Legs looking a bit ropey, skin's going purple. As long as he can still walk, you can pick up his guns when he dies.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's really the hardest part, finding the right people. But it's also it's also the most rewarding part as well, because I mean, some of the people that I connected well with in the game, and I still can, you know, sometimes talk to those people. I've known those people for like over a decade now at this point, so it's pretty cool. You can make some really long-term friendships, which is always nice. And actually, you see stories pop up like that on Reddit actually sometimes, where like some guy will find somebody that he was playing with 10 years ago, and it's pretty cool.
I'm still playing with one person that I was playing with about 13 years ago, which is really awesome. But it's really weird. Like he has a weird kind of shyness where if we're playing with people he doesn't know, after a while he just stops talking altogether. He just stops talking.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He doesn't communicate or anything. I don't know how to fix that. But yeah. But he's the only one that I have left. So like I just have to put up with it with him. Whereas other people, I would just remove them from my friends list. I just don't care.
I have a lot of people that they've gotten lives, like, so they don't really play anymore. But I think one of the ones some people may know actually is a Swedish guy called Osvar. Yeah, she used to be in some semi-pro teams in the Source days. He's a very, very good player actually, very talented.
How's he not gonna kill? Come on, Dolpan. Oh, he's not gonna make it. Not gonna make it.
Okay, so what's actually going on right now? What's going on? So Disco Dolplan, is showing why he is at the top of the standings with a lot of franks already on the T side. But T side should always in theory be a little bit easier. I would personally think. But that said, you know, when it comes to mixes. But that said, it is FPL, so these are, you know, pretty high level players. A lot of them with team experience, and a lot of them encouraged to communicate very well. So that does actually change the nature of the game somewhat.
I feel like if it's a mix versus a mix, I feel like the CT side is going to be easier on maps like this because you just need to hold angles and smokes, whereas executing may
look
be
at
more
this though,
difficult.
James. That's the thing though. Like they did the wall of smokes in mid to take mid with 2 players. They're actually wrapping 3 into the A bomb site. From main, you got Flasher holding down these positions. Like this is like a pretty legit round that a lot of people who are on actual teams wouldn't be able to execute.
That was a pretty sick round, yeah.
Right.
I often play mid on cash. Either I play solo B or mid these days. I don't really play A so much anymore. I quite like rotating between mid and A with the AWP though, but I play with a Russian AWPer most of the time, and she plays, and she's much better than me with the AWP, and she plays mid, so I play close with the M4. So I have a lot of fun actually.
You should watch
trying to deal with that most of the time.
Well, I don't know. I know some people who would probably crucify me for saying this, but one player that stands out to me as far as like rifling and mid goes is actually Pasha. Pasha was doing that a lot towards the end of last year. So like he'd be a pretty interesting player to like look at. But I think a player like I remember Apex used to be pretty damn prolific, holding mid at long ranges even with a rifle, which I always found kind of interesting. But he was very good at it, uniquely so I think. I only ever saw him doing that in the top tier, but he was able to pull it off back in his Titan days, and of course now, you know, he's been elevated.
Well, I think two things that are interesting to look at relating to mid control is Virtus.pro. They used to have snacks standing outside B, and they would throw the Molotov into the vent, so when the CT jumps out of the vent, Snacks can kill him as he tries to rotate. And on the flip side, when Jacob is playing in the vent, he's very good at escaping that Molotov and going underneath the vent without exposing himself to somebody in Snacks' position.
A lot of nuances when it comes to the mid area. It's such an important area to kind of understand all the little nuances of, or the kind of and what's kind of currently happening in the metagame. Because and actually, I think sometimes, you know, we take the term metagame actually for granted because, you know, we've been in this thing for so long, and I think for a lot of people they don't necessarily know what it is, so I might actually just explain that because, you know, why not?
Good idea.
So the metagame, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, is the idea that basically you have trends that appear in the game, and so it's more or less what people take away from the game and how that impacts their future decision making. So for example, on mid, if the setups for the CTs are very dominant, or one position in particular has started to be used a lot to deal with, let's say it's the counter to the way that the T's push or something similar, then now the CT's gonna be standing in that position a lot because it's good against what the T's are doing. So then that's in the metagame now. So then you've got a situation where the T's are getting wrecked by this new setup from the CTs, and so then the the teams change what they do to account for that. So you have this constant change in decision making where it's just based on counters, based on what people are doing now. That's kind of what the metagame is essentially.
Speaking of metagame,
in practice at least.
But, I think it's something that I want to say Liquid started. I'm not sure if it was Liquid or Titan from what I can recall, but when on the piece around on Cash, when they basically play retake, I mentioned at the Star Series finals when we were casting a Fnatic match, as I always do, when someone does this strat, is like when they play the retake, they have a CT on car and basically nobody in A. But from the car position, if somebody opens squeaky, you can't hear the door being opened. So if you think a team is going to play that, then you should just rush through squeaky and get the bomb down. And Fallen heard me saying that, and he did it against Fnatic. I mean, Olofmeister went for an instant flank on them because he called it on the fly. You can even see it from his body language, him calling it on the fly before the start of the round. But I think if it was like more structured, then maybe they can stop that flank. Because I think there were 3 kills from that. They did win the round, but the point, firstly, I'm calling it the Bardolph. That's the Bardolph strat right there.
All right.
But also, it was nice to finally see that. Because I thought it was madness that like someone like Liquid, there was a period of time where they would do it every single round.
Yeah.
I mean, every single pistol round, and no one ever did that against them. And I just don't see why. Like if you can have this, you can take the site with all your plays intact, and you can get some nades done. I think there are probably some interesting places to put nades as well. Like if you, the person who is left in A, they had a person A main just in case, right? But if they boosted him to where Delpan is here, then he can do the smoke that Renegades do onto short, which makes it a lot harder for the CTs coming in for the retake. And he can watch the flank, and people can re-smoke that later on as well, where you pretty much only have to worry about car for a while.
I like it because as well, I mean, the A retake is something. It's like one of those kind of meta-proof strategies where it's like this is just good, kind of no matter what happens, because you get a solid rehearsed A retake, or if you get a solid defense on B if they decide to go B. So it's like always it's one of those safer choices that doesn't really take into account the metagame. And if you're taking into account the metagame, you're going for the counter play, then there's a bit more of a risk there because you're gambling a little bit more. But in that instance, like the bomb goes down so fast that it's like it allows the T's more time, so it's actually pretty sick even against the safe setup. Either way, I mean this Cash is one of the better maps in my opinion because there are so many options for both teams, for both the CTs to take positions aggressively, as well as and find information, or if they want to play more defensive style, there's a lot of very legitimate setups that can work quite well on this map as well, if the team wants to do something like that. So there's a lot of variety for the CTs and how they defend, as well as a huge amount of variety on the way that the T's play, if it's going to be a pick-based style or execute-based style, or if it's going to be a mix, or if it's going to be about map control and forcing rotations. You pretty much have almost everything on this map.
That timing of that nade.
Which is why I think it's one of the better maps, personally.
I love the timing on that nade. The smoke was down from the CTs. So 1 minute 40, the nade goes in through the smoke, takes one person down to half HP. I got to remember that. Actually, there's something about the textures seems to have changed on this map. It's not really noticeable unless you're using like marks of dirt to throw nades. But I had nades lined up outside of main. There's a nade which bounces off a corner of the roof, like a lip of the roof, and then bounces off the forklift towards short to allow you to plant in the smoke towards short without being seen. But the thing I use for reference is no longer there, so I can't do it anymore. I need to find another way to do it. That's curious. One thing I was going to do as well was when I make a nade video, is to use the coordinate position, like spec_pos, and just put it in the description. So everyone, at worst case scenario, just put themselves in the correct position and then find a way it works for them. I think it's future proof as well, you know.
Unless they change the dimensions of the map chase.
Yeah. To make it. Well, who knows? I'm really curious to see what Train is going to be like, actually. Because they've made, I mean, not Train, Nuke.
I was going to say, I was like, are they changing Train now?
Yeah.
What is this?
I was really impressed with the look of Train, actually. That's a map I still feel like my knowledge is considerably underdeveloped in.
It's a much more simplistic map, at least from many perspectives. I'm not a massive fan of it. I know Lopez said recently, I don't know if it was just because of the match that we saw in it, but he said it was one of his favorite maps to watch now, if not favorite. So
yeah, he said it was his favorite map.
Yeah, I can't really agree with that. I can agree with that as his favorite to watch, but as a map, I can't agree with that because there's just too much missing from it in my opinion. But that's another.
For me, I feel
discussion.
like what question is just the design of the map of all the trains basically, which has always been the way train has been. Running around corners and so on, I feel like there's a lot of variance and there's a lot of 1v1s which are likely to happen, and I think depending on who's looking where, that can bring variance in. Although I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not saying it's a bad map. I'm
No,
just
no,
I'm
no.
saying it's different. But that's what I think about when I look at a map.
yeah, and
Or wonder
what
about.
it's good enough. Like it provides variety, and there is some certain things you've got to be very good at to be a good train team. But yeah, what happened really to Quinton? Where is he playing now? I can't remember.
Is he playing in a team at the moment?
I'm not sure if he is.
I don't think he is. Not that
I
I
think
know.
he reappeared for a moment, but I'm not sure exactly. I
Well,
mean,
is Crystal playing for someone at the moment? Swedish Crystal.
yeah, well, he made a mixed team, didn't he? That beat Powerful Pronex's team almost immediately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you mean Swedish Crystal?
Yeah.
I think Crystal and Wenton made a team, and I think they were the ones that beat Pronex and Pal's team.
I had the weirdest experience. I was with Crystal and Threat at a Twitch after party after DreamHack, and Crystal was just trying to be as weird as possible to me, and I just like I wasn't even like
I
weirded
can only
out.
imagine the Threat probably told him some stuff.
I wasn't even
So
weirded out. I
James
was
is
just
weird.
like, what is he doing? Like it was in an old sawmill or something, and there were just these random pieces of like ironmongery on the shelves, just random objects of pieces of machinery and things. And I won't say on the stream what he was saying, but it was just random as hell. That's the only time I've met him as well.
I can only imagine that James said, oh no, sorry, a Threat said, James is really weird, and Chris was like, but I am weirder. And then he tried to have a battle of weirdness with you.
I don't know if weird would be what Threat said, although
Maybe, well,
we have shocked him a considerable amount of times. I think we changed him as a human being after his tenure here. It made me. I was actually sad in that respect when they announced him as the out of game leader for.
in-game leader as well. He's in-game leader.
Yeah, but he's not in the game, is he?
No, but he will be.
No, but he's not in the game.
No, but he will be, because he'll have a PC. He'll have a laptop. He'll be in the game.
Oh, so he will be in the game.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, that's a good point.
He'll
Actually,
be-
he will be in the game.
he'll
He'll
be
just be
in-game
a spectator.
Yeah.
So he's the in-game leader because he's in the game. Nice. So anyway, like I was sad in a way because we won't have our boy Threat anymore. He's been taken by the Swedes. In fairness, they had him before we did, but I mean, still, he's ours.
No, it's gonna be interesting to see what he can do with that team, because he's the only man that can turn that team into something now.
Yeah.
At this point, he's the only man for the job.
I think he's the only person they'll listen to.
Exactly. Yeah. There's also, and I also think he's the way personally, the way that he thinks about the game, I think is the best, like the most consistent, which is exactly the problem that NIP had. Like they had a very inconsistent style, how they took all their decisions. Like I mean, we had so many conversations about it back when they were having like a horrible time. But if you just watch like the ways that they tried to open rounds on the T side, or how certain times when they tried to defend, everything seemed very, very without structure, and like no one knew what they were doing, and it's quite painful to watch at times. But they could always fall back on the fact that they were godlike players. That's the crazy thing. They are godlike players.
My biggest question now for the team is like just what are they going to do with regards to Norp? Obviously, Forrest is a really good AWPer.
He's going to have to, isn't he?
But you don't want him to be dedicated AWPer, do you?
You don't.
Because he's Forrest. And I don't think I can't see him going Neo mode when Neo's basically dedicated AWP for Virtus.pro. I don't know, but I mean,
the Olafmeister of the team. That's like what he can do. He's like one of the best AWPers, one of the best riflers, one of the best pistolers. He's basically the Olafmeister of the team in that sense. You wouldn't tell Olafmeister, yeah, you're just AWPing now, mate.
But on a map like Mirage, for example, let's say CT Mirage, what is Forrest going to do? As the person who AWPs on the team now, because from what we understand, right, Alu got removed. They tried to get Makalele back. I'm assuming that's after Ali was removed.
I think they were trying to get anyone more or less at that point.
But they removed an AWPer, tried to get another AWPer,
yeah, but
who they removed.
They asked Twist 3 times, and Twist said no, I think.
They've asked him about 50 times.
Yeah, and I think he got asked before Makalele originally, and he got asked before Alu when Ali got.
Is he playing on
passed.
Pronax's team?
Yes, he is.
Did you see the stats on his? Why I just don't understand why he's so.
He could have joined a team that's going to be the major and one of the biggest brands in Counter Strike, but he wants to play with his friends and lose James. He wants to lose with his friends.
But what does he do? Like,
I don't know, mate.
what does he do? What is his employment? I don't know. Because I guess he's not playing full time.
I mean, that could be a possibility that he's. But the thing is, well, from what I've heard, he takes the game very, very seriously.
I'm guessing
he does have like a career that's more important to him. I have no idea actually.
But I suppose one has to bear in mind all the travel that's involved, and you're going to be away from all your mates and so on. So maybe like he might be cool with them, but they might not be his homies.
At the end of the day as well, like if you're not going to accept that offer, then you're not the like because some people would be like, oh, well, I don't want to kind of backstab my friends or something. But if you're not competitive enough to not backstab your friends, but everyone would understand if you would leave your friends to join a team, right?
Yeah.
That's like a really good opportunity, like and joining NIP in this instance. So if you're not going to take that, then you're not competitive enough to work on that team.
I actually respect the fact that he's like, no, this is not for me, so no thanks. Whereas like I always feel like Shazam should have never gone to Cloud9, and people think like, oh, that's a stupid thing to say, James. Like, you get the call from Cloud9, you take it. Like, well, if you don't think the team's gonna work, then why would you do that? Like,
well, I mean,
it's short. People just think of short-term money.
I would have done it as well in Shazam's position because and not because of the payday, just because you get to play on like on at that time the best team in NA more or less to get that chance if they ask you.
For me, there was more potential for him with the team that existed at the time. Then I just didn't think he would fit in Cloud9.
Yeah, I guess it's very hard to know like how that's going to develop as well at that time.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And maybe they were desperate. Maybe they asked 5 people like, can I beat it?
Maybe they asked Twist.
Maybe they asked Twist, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I respect the fact that he's just like sticking to his guns,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, you can't really criticize someone for a decision like that because it's their life and their choice. Like, if they don't want to take the decision, then they're not going to ever be ready. If you force them to do it, they're not going to be in the state of mind to actually.
It kind of reminds me actually of Zach Bennett in fighting games, where he's.
Oh yeah.
If he wanted to, he could be one of the absolute best players in the world, but he might just be bored of a game. It's like, nah. Like in Street Fighter, he was like one of the absolute best players in Street Fighter 4, and he's just like, you know what, I just can't be bothered to play the game.
In Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
I thought it was Marvel that he was.
No, that was before Street Fighter 4. There was one time in London Arcade, he had 85 win streak.
Oh really?
In the arcade, I used to play with Kuma. I used to play him all the time. He used to body me. He used to put me in situations that I could literally do nothing about. But he just got bored of the game.
Which characters did he play in?
He was playing Akuma. He played a few. Right. I think he went to Yun as well. He was in Japan, and he was playing Yun when Yun was extremely overpowered, and he was like on the ranking boards, the national ranking boards in the bloody arcades. But I think Yun just destroyed his entire passion for the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, he could have just made paper like easily. But he's just like, no, I'm just bored. No.
But didn't he become like? Isn't he like a theoretical physicist now, something like that, or a doctor or something?
He I don't want to say too much about his personal life, but he does AI related stuff.
What? Sorry.
Artificial intelligence.
Oh right, cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I have a friend who does that as well. He's a very cool guy.
I think we are reaching the end, Dan.
Yeah, it looks to be that is the case, and it does seem like Disco Dopplan once again has prevailed.
Delpan losing to Dopplan.
He's prevailed, even so much so that he has more frags than Senor Vac.
See this boost on A, where you see Skirk. Something Peter does is he jumps on these barrels in front of them basically at the beginning of a round. Because if you look at, do you remember when G2 were playing, when FaZe were playing in Star Series? There was a situation on Cash, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was that tournament, where Makalele was here in main, and he basically did a jump peek with the AWP. Because they had no strats, right? So he's like, let me just jump peek with the AWP. But, so he was looking to pre-fire somebody standing next to the barrels, and you can see Peter's position was on top of the barrels. So someone's coming into that pre-fire, and he's going to have an advantage on them. Which not many people do, but something that I definitely stole.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, looks like the game's over, James. So.
What are you reaching for, Dan?
What do we do? I don't know what this is, James. Don't know. I don't have a tea. Where's my tea? Yo. Where's my tea at?
There's no more tea.
is atrocious. You should have bought a bigger one and also an insulated teapot as well.
Insulated.
Yeah, because we're gonna be casting, sat here for a long time. We can't just go fetching tea. We don't have.
I was gonna get one of those little Japanese ones, but they're just
Yeah.
mad overpriced. They're like, I don't know, like £90. But you could buy them. What are they called? I forgot. I was talking to my girlfriend yesterday because she has one. But on
You just
online
announce
shopping
to the world
websites.
that you have a girlfriend. You've just broken like 1 million hearts.
Really?
Yeah. Now they're like, oh, I can't. James is taken. Shucks.
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
Okay then.
Maybe that Dan guy.
Okay. This is so ridiculous.
It's alright.
Anyway,
So
I think it's cast iron. It's called teapots.
Yeah.
But they're like, I think on like Amazon and things, they're like 20 quid. But maybe I'll look into that.
okay, that's good. More tea. More tea is good. So James, you said something to us, but I want to rebel. I want to rebel, James.
Basically, on the FACEIT Twitter account, they asked for some questions for today's show. So they provided me with questions for you, and they provided you with questions for me.
This is great.
And
But it's about
I like this
prepare.
idea. And we have to choose the best question afterwards, and they will receive a Deagle Blaze.
Can I have a Deagle Blaze?
You can buy one.
Okay, and then that's a no then.
I bought a bluish 5.7 for a lot of money then. It wasn't too much money, but it was a lot of money. Anyway, would you like to go first, or shall I go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Who do you think will be the dominant team in Counter-Strike this year?
Oh, okay. Does it say who it's from?
No.
Oh, come on, guys. You could at least write ask the question. I mean, what is this? Well, I know what it is.
I get to mess you up, and Pretty Severe has to clean up, James.
So,
This is great.
who do I think is going to be the dominant team?
Yes.
That's an interesting question. Going historically.
Is it one you can answer?
Well, I think just looking at the past, I think the team who've had the longest dominance is fnatic.
So you're going to say Fnatic?
So I'm going to say fnatic. But really, I think to name, like people say like who's going to be like the best player of this year and who's going to be the best team. I don't know how much value there is in just one.
Well, you could
like
have
the top one player, the top one team.
You could have said Luminosity or Na'Vi. They're starting to actually have a lot of success with a new meta that deals very well with the skill-based style of Fnatic and Envious and so on.
They are, but I still think that fnatic are the most capable team of adapting in that respect. I love Luminosity. Actually, Luminosity and Na'Vi are my favourite teams. Virtus.pro, when they're playing well, are as well. But you can see like my Glock is covered in Na'Vi stickers. I need a Luminosity cannon, but I don't like their logo as much as Na'Vi's. No offense, boys. I do have a Fallen sticker on my Medusa though.
Medusa.
So I'd say my favourite team right now is Luminosity. Like Fallen is just Jesus to me right now. But I think the most dominant team. It's hard to bet against fnatic. I don't know who else there is. TSM are a bit wobbly at the moment, but I think
You mean Astralis?
yeah. Sorry, definitely not Semphasis' team. I mean they're just wobbling all over the place. Anyway, I will go with fnatic. Let's just leave it at that. Because
Thought that would never end.
I can't see someone. I'm not confident to pick another team over fnatic. So I'll pick fnatic for that reason. Okay,
This guy sucks at questions, guys. They have to scrap this segment in the future.
I
Double the questions for me.
would really like to see who asked the question. I think that's important. So let's make sure we do that next time.
Then we can berate them for 90% of the answer.
Oh, this is great. This is great.
Is it about my hair,
because
James?
my question for you is also for me, which means I get extra answers.
What?
Do you practice commentating? How, where? James should also reply.
What is this?
I don't have any tea, but I'm such a swagler. I'm going to drink it anyway.
Wait, what does this say?
Do you practice commentating? How, where? I don't know why where is relevant, but
So when we're in season, what I tend to do is I review everything that I do. So because we're doing a lot of commentary in season, so I used to do it. I used to do a lot of practice commentary, but when we're in season, we do so much stuff anyway that what it tends to boil down to is a lot of review, and then upon review, you get to pick apart the kind of problems that you're noticing in the cast, and then you get to work on that in the next cast, because there is so many casts. We're doing ridiculous amounts of casts, so that tends to be the case from most perspectives. And what I tend to do as well is I watch a lot of other sports and casters in particular, just to, depending on what I'm trying to improve and who I think is particularly good at. Let's say, you know, I think like my diction is weak, or I think that you know, something, you know, some part of the cast will be like pacing or.
What is diction?
Diction is usually refers to like phrasing, basically, or phrases. So, you know, Tosspot has a lot of phrases, and, you know, his diction's very good. Either way, you know, I'll then say, okay, so in this cast, you know, that was this or that was weak, and I'd focus it, and then for the next cast, I'm improving specifically on this, so it's all focused. And that's kind of been the progress over the last year or two. Is kind of how I tend to approach it. And yeah, it gets better and better slowly but surely. We started doing stuff. We started reviewing stuff together as well again.
Yeah.
Before, you know, especially after LANs, there's big ones.
Yeah. So we sit down and watch our videos together and look at our own commentary. We criticize each other's commentary and also like how we throw to each other and things like that. So the whole spectrum. And look at other people's as well, because you can, you know, it's even if you're like listening to a cast. I think when you're in this industry where you're doing productions and so on, because like I have my own company doing video production as well. Like my company covers the fighting games at DreamHack apart from Smash, and you know, does white label stuff for Capcom and all kinds of other things. So whenever there's a show on or something, even if it's on TV, I naturally look at things. Look at because I did a lot of photography as well. Look at how things are being composed, how the lighting is, you know, that kind of stuff. But on top of that, obviously, that continues through onto other commentators and to other games, you know, beyond esports, even football games and whatever else, because there are comparisons to draw. So we sit down and criticize each other's commentary as well. Actually, at Star Series in Belarus, I didn't really go out that much, drinking or socializing with most of the people. But before the grand final, I had already watched all of my commentary matches at Star Series in my hotel room on my laptop. So there's a lot of review to be done there.
It is the most important thing, basically.
Yeah.
It is I mean, if you're not doing anything else, that's basically what you should be doing, because it allows you to keep you need to be able to understand what you're actually doing right now, basically.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to do it. And it sucks. It's horrible. It never gets better. It never gets better listening to yourself, at least not for me, or even watching yourself. It just doesn't get better. It's just always terrible.
I think it's also very important to discuss it with somebody else, because one thing generally in life is when you want to look at something with a critical eye, if you look at it with your own eye, you're going to miss a lot. You have to have somebody else there to look at it with you, and that's going to help you improve quite considerably in comparison to just looking at things on your own. Yeah, because obviously there are things.
It can depend who it is as well, though. Like you don't want to take, you know.
You don't take an idiot.
The man off the Clapham omnibus.
Yeah.
Like, don't take him.
But like, because obviously, like, there are things that I am aware of, and things that Dan is aware of, and we will have crossover where I might not be aware of something, or he might not be aware of something. Especially when we do things that are repetitive, for example, which we don't realize, which I won't tell you because then you'll never get it out of your head. But it's something that other casters do as well, or the way they might use a word in a strange way or with a strange tone of voice. But for example, I might be repetitive. Like I know, for example, in Cluj, I said savage a lot, just without being consciously aware of it. But actually, that was good because I had one or two people tweet me and say, "Oh, savage, savage, savage." I was like, "Oh, wait, thanks for making me aware of what I was doing," and then I can, you know, be it. But I can tell Dan, you're doing this, and Dan, James, you can be like, James, you're not even pronouncing this properly, you moron. And that's basically how
I remember one of those.
That's our journey of self-improvement. Yeah.
Okay, I went very under the bus with that one. That was funny.
I don't mind. It's all good.
But yeah, and one thing as well for us in particular, because of the volume of stuff that we were doing, it then tends to be that the biggest focus will be on events, because that's where your 100% full focus is trying to get the best job out there,
yeah.
and you basically have absolutely zero excuse. Whereas sometimes if we're doing like a 14-hour day in the studio, then you get really tired and your performance drops off, and it's hard to like really get like, am I messing this up, or is it just because I'm really tired or something like that? So it's like better quality stuff to review. So I guess that's a long answer. But actually,
long answers are good.
Again, actually, with this question, it reminds me, you know, it'd be really nice to know who this question is coming from, because is it coming from somebody that actually wants some advice as to how to, like, with regards to this, or is it just like a general, I'm just generally interested in what you guys do with that kind of stuff? Because those are two different things.
We only have 2 questions each.
I know. Well, so right. If I guess it's gonna be. It says if had, so I'm gonna add a U in there.
Okay.
Because that seems like a logical thing to do.
Nice.
If you had to change or add a game mechanic in Counter-Strike Global Offensive, what would you change?
I don't know that I would add a mechanic. Most of the things I want to add to the game are
I know what your answer
around.
is, by the way. You'll get there eventually.
most the things I want to change are around the game, not within the game, because I'm looking at it from a caster point of view. Actually, I look at it from both.
I'm going to give you a clue, James, of what your answer is going to be. Hang on, it's going to be.
No. So I don't think so, actually.
Is that not the
because since they changed the hitboxes, I found it a lot more tolerable. It's still
Okay.
stupid, but I don't think like before it was completely clear. It was a clear cut non-starter for me. But I'll get to that. I need to speak the question again. Okay, so adding a mechanic, I don't really. The things I want to add are
Railguns.
are the viewing experience.
Railguns.
For example, like when you're an observer, right? Because I used to do some observing. When you're an observer, the only way you can draw on the screen is by bringing up the big map, which covers most of the screen. Let's say somebody doesn't buy armor, and I want to circle that. I have to bring up the map to do that, which doesn't make any sense. And I was asking Valve to change this at Cluj, and they wrote it down, and it still hasn't changed.
Of course, mate.
And like if this doesn't change by
Many things
by
down, James,
Ohio,
at Cluj.
if it doesn't change by Ohio, then there's going to be some discussion.
It's going to be a massacre, James.
Like why hasn't this been done? I want to know physically why. If you didn't have time, that's fine, but give me a legit reason. Otherwise, I don't know. I'm going to send you poo in the post or something. So removing mechanics from the game. Yeah, I mean, before the hitbox update was done, my number one was the scout, because the for me it breaks game design. It's not logical, and I understand. I think I know where they're coming from with that, in the sense that, you know, it's not really having a perfect game is not always the best idea. Like if you look at the old Street Fighter games, when they came out on like Super Nintendo cartridges and stuff, like that's the game. There's no updates for that game. So you have broken things in the game. You learn to abuse them, and that makes the game, that makes part of the game's beauty. And you can look at it as in terms of, this doesn't make sense, but you know, it's something fun that people can enjoy. That's so I can see where I think they're coming from in that kind of mindset, but Counter-Strike is such a strategical game, excuse me, and I feel like it's too much a breakaway from the game design, the design of the map. Like if you look at the way the maps are designed, they're not designed for that to be abused.
I think like that's with that. I think for me, one of the ways I look at it is like for cost. Basically, what you're getting out of the cost of that weapon is something that's actually kind of sick. Basically, because
considering the speed you can strafe with that weapon at, I don't think the jumping is necessary. When you talk about cost value and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but like the jumping adds so much value to the gun.
Yeah,
that adds a huge amount of value, which is kind of sick. And it's only like, you know, what's cheap as chips.
I know one mission of Valve is to make every gun in the game viable. So, and I feel like if it didn't have that jumping mechanic, it would be bought considerably less than it is now. So that might be part of the decision-making process. In respect of that, which is going a bit off topic, I don't see how the revolver will ever be a viable weapon in any sense. I just don't think it makes sense at all.
We'll see.
But in terms of mechanics to remove, also, yeah, I mean, it's straying away from mechanics. So the only thing I can think of right now is the jumping scout.
Okay, what's my question?
Oh, right. Okay. What was your first impression of James, and when is his birthday?
No, when is because wait.
This is like a dating show now.
It is a dating. But the thing is that James doesn't tend to celebrate his birthday, do you?
No, I don't.
So I know that his birthday was not too long ago, or maybe
that's
okay. Never mind. I honestly don't care.
That's fair.
Don't
so what was your first impression
honestly, don't give it up.
What was your first impression of James?
So the funny thing is that
in fairness, I have no idea when your birthday is.
Yeah. How old am I, James?
27.
This is like some Cilla Black level stuff.
Although should I be facing over here?
Yeah, exactly. Although she is dead now, of course. So yeah, it's a little bit inappropriate now, James.
Rest in peace, Cilla Black.
Too soon.
She was a beast. I watched a lot of
R.I.P.
Cilla Black shows.
liked Blind Date. I watched that when I was young. Didn't know about. Didn't understand.
I wanted to see fit chicks dad.
That's
That's why I watched it. Show me the hot chicks.
I didn't understand that well, James. I was probably like 8 years old or something at that point, or even younger when I saw that show. Anyway,
maybe that's what was corrupted me.
Cilla Black.
No, not Cilla Black.
Blind Date.
But the hot girls.
Oh right.
You know, like those twins.
Blind Date. This is a great concept.
Those twin girls on Funhouse.
Do you?
They're like twins. They're hot twins in there.
Do you blindfold your dates, James?
No.
Then ask them weird questions.
No. I have a girlfriend. I don't need to blindfold anyone.
Then you whisk them off on a cruise to Paris or something. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, to answer the question, what was the question, James?
What was your first impression of me?
First impression of you. So, funnily enough, I used to be I had a huge period where I was very into fighting games, and it's actually a period where he was broadcasting quite a lot of fighting games. And when I moved on from First Strike and was playing Street Fighter 4, he was running with his company Arms House. Arms House at your mum's house. There's the catchphrase or whatever the hell it was, like the tagline.
The song, yeah.
Arms House at your mum's house. Arms House is a reference to grime, isn't it? It's like a UK.
Arms House means
grime.
beef, like in America. Like you know, people have beef.
Okay, yeah.
And I suppose in that kind of culture, you have Arms House here.
So I was watching his streams. He was doing. It's actually really funny because I used to watch a lot of fighting game streams, and his would take place kind of like in the evening time in the UK and in London. And what was it called again? I always confuse it.
Winner Stays On?
Winner Stays On, yeah. I always confuse it with Wednesday Night Fights for some reason. But that was in like San Francisco or something like I don't know. Anyway, so Winner Stays On, he'd run this tournament, and they'd have like a lot of the best UK players actually. Sometimes
people used to come down from Manchester.
Yeah.
On a Thursday night.
That's amazing.
It's crazy, yeah. It's like that's 4 hour drive or 2 hours on the train, both ways.
So they had like players like Andreas, who at the time played Rufus, and F-Word who's playing Ibuki, and I think he played another character.
He used to play Rufus before. He played Rufus before.
Okay.
Problem X played Seth.
You had Ryan Hart, you had Zach. You know, had like a lot of sick players actually who would actually play this thing. So it's actually really entertaining because you get a lot of the kind of feeling of UK banter actually. Because on the stream you'd hear James, like you never see him, but you'd hear his voice sometimes just controlling his just out of control commentators because they're always just out of control. So it's just quite a cool vibe. Also because everyone came from work and because it's like London. Where were you holding it? Was it Meltdown?
Trocadero.
Not sorry, Trocadero.
HMV Gamer Base. Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually his place where he did sell it, but yeah. So it's like central London, and you get all these guys that coming from work in their suits and ties and stuff, like looking super sharp. And it's such a contrast from watching the American tournaments, where of course no one really cares about what they're wearing, which is fine, whatever. But it's such a funny contrast. And so I was watching that all the time, and that was how I got my first impression of him. He recommended a shirt actually. It's like these shirts are really sick, and I actually bought one. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah. The Charles Twight shirts.
Actually,
non-iron shirts.
I ripped that shirt climbing through a window. And it was during our first season, end of 2014. I locked myself out and had to climb through the window, and I actually ripped the shirt. That was great. So I actually rip that, literally rip shirt.
I forgot about that. I remember you telling me that you bought the shirt I recommended.
So it's non-iron shirt, yeah. Actually, I wore that shirt to the dinner where FACEIT offered me a job as well.
Really?
Yeah, in Milan. So
it's funny how those things work, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that means that I knew about him and his stuff like 2 years before ever meeting him, and I didn't think that he was ever into CS or anything like that. Just saw him as a fighting games dude, and I think we more or less just got along more or less immediately because we had to do I remember you did like a couple of casts with us, and you hadn't really done any casts before, so it was definitely a bit. Well, you sucked.
I was a bit quiet and a bit nervous, which is very unlike me, being quiet and nervous.
Yeah,
I'm not loud, but I'll talk when I want to talk.
It's interesting because it's like obviously you had a lot of stuff to say, but you're like still working out. Okay, when do I fit this in, or how do I fit this in?
Yeah.
But then after maybe like just a few casts together, maybe like 2 or 3 or something, then we did like an impromptu analyst couch for the season finals.
Season finals, yeah. We had I still have a picture of that where I basically drew over the whole map and think, I think these teams should have done this.
Oh yeah.
Literally drew over the entire map.
And that was fun. Yeah, we just kind of hit it off basically. Just that was more or less it. I would never. I mean, the impression is just. It seems like an interesting, cool dude. More or less it. That was a very long answer to an impression, and then I came to the end. Like,
actually,
don't know, mate.
I'm glad you reminded me of the Winner Stays On stuff because I feel like maybe a lot of the kind of humor style comes from that because it was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Like there was the Street Fighter on a Tuesday, and then there was Marvel on a Thursday, and at this time I was taking a small suitcase to work with all the broadcasting stuff in. Then I was going from work to broadcast it from 7 p.m. till midnight and then going home. But on Thursday mornings, my boss from my old work, he had roped me into going to a networking meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning every Thursday.
What a bastard.
So I would be absolutely wrecked, broadcasting, falling asleep, trying to manage like some of the grimiest dudes in London, playing Marvel. Absolutely insane. It was a lot of fun though. It was a lot of fun.
I mean, I watched a lot of Street Fighter stuff at that point, but that was actually always the most entertaining shows because it's just outrageous. Just has such a weird, like British, weird flavour to it. Is brilliant.
Yeah. All walks of life.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
It's funny now because I've met some of those guys now, and they're pretty sound. Especially F-Word. Femi is very cool.
The best thing I ever saw there though was the guys, the SYN guys, basically like the black guys. Okay, they came.
Black guys.
They're like oh, almost what? They're like the hood, right? The hood comes in with a Dreamcast and four controllers playing Choo Choo Rocket.
The hood
right?
comes in.
You just imagine like the hood playing Choo Choo Rocket on the Dreamcast, just casting each other out. It's absolutely hilarious. I really wanted them to do it on stream one day, but they would rather stay underground. But those days were brilliant. They really were.
All right, guess that brings things to a close. So thank you, those of you that submitted questions for us. And
we need to pick the best question.
Oh, do we really?
Yeah.
Let's just say that one.
That one?
Yeah.
Okay, it's the one about the first impression of James.
Yeah, that was a good one. I think that was the most fun one. And
it brought the most out of us.
Yeah.
So
good job, friends.
Congratulations, Mr. or Mrs.
Or could be of the other fine agenda.
Razvan MD apparently.
Razvan and something.
Yeah, MD. Managing director. Well, congratulations to you.
All right, so that brings the show to close. We hope you guys enjoyed us chatting random bollocks for about, I don't know, 2 hours or so, probably.
I still feel like bollocks is a swear word.
It's not really, though. It's rather British, I would say. And it's
like bugger.
Yeah, it's like...
Bitches,
like buggery, bollocks...
No.
What have you done? What have you started, James?
Not with a Y on the end. Just bugger. Why did you do that? We can't close the show. We can't close the show with buggery.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes James just got to do it. So, guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the near future for more of this horrendousness. It will continue, and we'll see you then.